if you think about what's going to happen during the fast, you are going to get hungry. You might get a bit irritable. You might get a bit hangry.
You don't get irritable.
I don't on a fast.
No,
I get full of energy. So, but a lot of people who are not used to fasting,
yes, they find it a bit uncomfortable.
They will find it quite hard. So look, give yourself time and space. Don't do this when you've got an important meeting or an exam, or you're going to have a really busy day with the kids. Accept that it might be challenging for you. So give yourself time and space.
Yes.
Perhaps pick a time at the weekend, or if you've got more time during the week because somebody else has got the kids, great, go for your weekday. But try and find that time when you can have a bit of a rest. You can have some downtime. You can sit and read a book. You can get more sleep, because sleep's really important when you're fasting, and you might just feel a bit tired the first few hours. So, get lots and lots of rest. So really pick a good time for you. Don't just go straight into it, especially if it's your first one. Welcome back to the Peaks Info series, and we get a lot of questions from people that tune in around fasting. What is it? How to do it? What do I do before a fast? What type of fast should I do? How long can I fast for? Is it safe to fast? What do I do after the fast? And so we thought it would be really helpful if we covered our top tips for fasting success.
Great. Before we start, I know we've got episodes on fasting and on different elements, but let's just do a quick recap on what is fasting, the different types of fasting, and why should you do it? Why is it such a big part of the keto lifestyle?
Yeah, let's do that. So first of all, fasting, what is it? We're simply talking about removing food from the day. So we are removing our calorie sources, and we're just not eating. And fasting's been around for many, many years, so we know that in ancient times people used fasting. It's still used for religious purposes today. So, our Muslim friends will go for long periods where they fast during Ramadan. So a couple of times a year there are scheduled fasts where people go from dawn until dusk without eating or drinking anything. But it's become really popular in the keto world, and especially the last couple of years. And there we're typically talking about two types of fast. The first one is intermittent fasting. And there we're talking about finishing our meal one day, perhaps 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, and then not eating overnight, not eating the following morning, perhaps going through to around 12 o'clock, so that we've had an extended period where we haven't been consuming calories, we haven't been eating, and we're getting all the benefits of a short fast. So that's typically when we hear the term 16-8. It's talking about 16 hours without eating and 8 hours of eating, not continuously, I have to point out.
Yeah, and just a quick question, intermittent fasting is safe to be done every day? You can do it on an ongoing basis as part of your routine?
That's right, so intermittent fasting is something that we believe is very safe to do every single day of your life. Now you might want to change up the length of time that you fast for. You might sometimes want to break your fast early and have a breakfast. And that's because you don't want your body to get into the habit or into a routine or just very used to what you're doing.
Right.
Changing things up every now and then really gives your body a bit of a shock and says, hey, let's do things differently. So, sometimes when you've hit a plateau, if you're losing weight, it's quite a good idea just to change things up. And then your body sort of will, go through that plateau and you'll start to lose again. So, intermittent fasting, safe every day, whether you do 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours or 20 hours, or even if you go for the OMAD, the one meal a day type of approach, you're really getting benefit from limiting the amount of hours in a day that you eat. Okay. So that's the first style, is the intermittent fasting. So many of you are probably already fasting. You're doing that 16-8 or you're doing the 14-10 and you're getting great benefits from it. The second type is the extended fast. And this is where we're typically talking about 1 or more days where we go without food. So, a lot of people when they start will try a 24-hour fast. They've maybe done 16 hours successfully and they say, well, what's the next step for me? And they'll go for a 24 hours. And that's a really great place to start. But then you can go on from that. If you really want to get some more benefit, you could go to a 3-day fast, or you could go for even longer. Typically, for most people, anywhere between 1 and 3 days every 1 month, 2 months, 3 months is perfect. If you really do want to go further, then maybe a 5-day fast once a year is enough. So these extended fasts, they're not really the sort of thing that we need to do every week. They're not really designed for us to continuously put our body under that stress, because it is stressful when you're fasting for more than 24 hours. It starts to become stressful on the body. You get lots of benefits, but it is stressful.
So what are the benefits? We've talked about the different types. If someone's considering fasting and maybe those tuning in haven't done fasting before and they're thinking, well, I'd like to try fasting, but what are the benefits I'm going to get from either intermittent fasting or extended fasting?
Yeah, it makes sense. Let me talk about that. So when we fast and we basically have a calorie deficit, we're going to allow our body to tap into its own fat stores. So first of all, if we're not in ketosis, the first thing that will happen is we'll get into ketosis when we fast. So if you want to really kick yourself into ketosis or you want to go deeper, then fasting is a great way to do it. So if you have something like type 2 diabetes, or you have a lot of weight to lose and you really want to push your ketosis a bit further, more towards the therapeutic level rather than the general maintenance level, then this is really good. The next stage of fasting, when you've fasted for a bit longer, you're getting to a point we call autophagy. And we've got a whole episode on this. Autophagy is basically self-eating. It's when the body gets to a point where it really is consuming its own body fat for fuel. And it's doing something else, really important. It's clearing out all of the damaged cells in the body and making room for new cells. So all the bits and pieces of cells that have got damaged over their life, or they were perhaps a bit deformed and not in good shape, they're cleared out. So when we fast for somewhere between 24 hours, 36 hours, depending on your starting point, we're getting to a point where the body can do that cellular renewal. So wonderful for longevity, great for diseases, amazing for cancer, because again, it's starving the body of glucose, it's getting you deep into ketosis, and you're clearing out waste right deep down at the cellular level. So you're going to feel good, you're going to get the longevity benefits, you're going to become more insulin sensitive, which is great for diabetics. You're probably going to lose a bit of weight, your skin will look good, and you'll get more energy. You'll be surprised at how much energy you'll get from fasting. We've been told we need to eat all the time, 5 to 6 meals a day. The reality is you'll get more energy, your metabolism will speed up, you'll work better if you fast regularly.
Excellent. So we've talked about the why, we've talked about what is fasting, so now we've made a decision. Those people tuning in might have got it right. It is time to start my fast.
Right.
There's a bunch of things we need to do before we fast.
Yes.
And then you're going to talk to what we can do during the fast.
Yes.
And you're also going to talk to, at the end of the fast, how do we break the fast and some tips for getting the benefits from the fast.
Absolutely.
All right, so I've decided to fast.
Cool.
I've now put a time in my diary. What are some of the things I need to do before I get into the fasting piece?
Cool. Well, the first thing you really need to think about is what type of fast you're going to do. Because we've got various types. There's dry fasting, and that literally means eating and drinking nothing, not even water.
Okay.
Hence the term dry fasting. So dry fasting is the first one. The next one is water fasting. So in water fasting, again, it's no solids, it's nothing with calories. We're only going to drink non-caloric beverages. That means water, it means black coffee, it means teas, black tea, green tea, that type of thing. Not artificially sweetened sodas or anything like that. So you're sticking to the real basics in terms of tea, coffee and water.
Right.
So there we've got a water fast. The next one up from that would be a fat fast. So on a fat fast, we are going to consume some fats, but no protein, no carbohydrate. So there you might have your bulletproof coffees. You may even have some cheese or some nuts, a fairly limited amount because you've got to watch out for the carbohydrates that are in there. But you can maybe have some olive oil if you're a bit hungry, or some coconut oil. So you'll have a bit of fat, not a lot, because if you have too much and you have too many calories, you're going to switch off those really important processes like autophagy. But you can have a limited amount of fat to help you get through. Then the last one is what we would call more of a reduced calorie fast. So here we're going to eat a very small amount of food. It's going to be more balanced. There will be a bit of protein in there. There'll be some fats. There may even be a touch of carbohydrate, maybe from the vegetables. We're limiting the protein and the carbohydrates because they do actually slow down the processes that we talked about. But there you might have, let's say, 500 calories compared to a typical day, which is 2,000 calories.
Understand.
And that's the basis for the 5-2 diet. When people talk about that 5-2, they have 5 normal eating days. They have 2 days where their calories are limited to about 500.
Right.
So there we've got a number of different types of fast. The ones that we would recommend, let me say first, the one that I do not recommend for anybody is the dry fast. The dry fast is extremely hard and it's got a lot of risks because you're not even hydrating yourself. There's very few of us can sit like a monk perhaps does, sit and meditate for 24 hours and literally go without water. So for most people that's not a smart move. So the 2 types of fast that I would recommend would be the water fast and the fat fast. So the first thing in your preparation phase, the first thing you're going to do is decide what type of fast is going to suit you. Is it the water? Is it the fat? If it's your first type of fast, or your first fast, then you might want to go for something that's a bit easier. So again, choose between the water and the fat. Then think about when are you going to start.
So you're talking about either whether it's intermittent fasting or an extended fast, both?
No, we're talking about an extended fasting. So assuming that you're already doing the intermittent fasting. Excellent. Or you build that in.
You've decided to go a little bit longer, maybe do 24 hours?
We're really talking about that extended fast. So think about how long you're going to fast.
Yes.
Is it going to be 24 hours? Are you going to try and do 2 days or 3 days?
Okay, good. And the preparation required?
So, my advice again on this one is if you're just starting out, try for a 24-hour fast. If you've already got 16 hours under your belt from your intermittent fasting and you're doing 16-8, 24 is not a lot longer. You've done the hardest bit, you've gone overnight, you've slept overnight. You're simply going through 1 day without eating. Now, to be honest, many people have never done this. Many people have never gone 24 hours without food. So it is a bit of a daunting prospect and hence all this preparation.
It's actually quite easy if you're doing the 16-8 and you take out that 8-hour window and just extend it to maybe 8 p.m. that night and then just go to bed. You're literally you're getting more than 24 hours immediately. So there's, it's not a big jump to get from 24 hours to 30 hours, 36 hours.
36 hours.
Yeah, all right. So we're ready to go. We've now looked at our diary, make sure there's nothing in our diary that's going to be not required in our fasting.
That's it. So I think, if you think about what's going to happen during the fast, you are going to get hungry. You might get a bit irritable. You might get a bit hangry.
You don't get irritable?
I don't on a fast.
No,
I get full of energy. So, but a lot of people who are not used to fasting,
yes, they find it a bit uncomfortable.
They will find it quite hard. So look, give yourself time and space. Don't do this when you've got an important meeting or an exam, or you're going to have a really busy day with the kids. Accept that it might be challenging for you, so give yourself time and space.
Yes.
Perhaps pick a time at the weekend, or if you've got more time during the week because somebody else has got the kids, great, go for your weekday, but try and find that time when you can have a bit of a rest. You can have some downtime, you can sit and read a book, you can get more sleep because sleep's really important when you're fasting, and you might just feel a bit tired the first few hours. So, get lots and lots of rest. So really pick a good time for you. Don't just go straight into it, especially if it's your first one.
So set yourself up for the success of fasting by making sure that you've got that time available and there's nothing important, and you're going into it feeling good. You're going into it, don't have any issues or problems. You're not off the back of something quite dramatic. You are in the right headspace to go into fasting. Yeah.
I think the mindset's really important. Having that positive mindset, you can do it. Being excited about it because the benefits are amazing. You are cleaning out your body on a cellular level. You've already gone keto, so you're cleaning out your body there generally, but this is going deep. So you're doing something really good for your body, so be excited about it.
Do you need to communicate with the people around you?
That's it. So I think, when you're first starting out, people need to know what you're doing.
Yes.
All of a sudden you're going without food.
All of a sudden you stopped eating. Yes.
You're
What's going on?
You're a bit angry, you're a bit irritable. People are going to, your loved ones are going to wonder what the hell's going on. Your workmates might be wondering why you're not going to come for lunch with us. Your best friend might be wondering why you're not coming, out for a coffee and a snack. So let people know what you're doing, why you're doing it. Be prepared for the challenges, but don't listen to the challenges. You're doing it for you, and you're doing a really, really good thing. So just let people know. The other thing that's really beneficial for a lot of people, really valuable, is to have an accountability partner or a fasting buddy. It's a lot easier to fast when there's two of you. So if you're fasting on your own, there's always temptation around. You might weaken, your willpower might sort of slip a bit. But if there's two of you, then you're going to keep each other on track, because I'm not going to want to break the fast. So if Mike and I are fasting together, I'm not going to be the one to break the fast, and neither is he.
Competition, fasting competition.
So it becomes, maybe it's a bit competitive. Hopefully it's generally supportive.
Talk off the hours on the wall. It's been 72 hours now.
But especially if you're struggling, you're challenged.
Absolutely.
Then, great thing to do.
Yep.
So get yourself somebody to help you out with it. Tell people around you. And then really important for a lot of people, especially if you've been a sugar addict, especially if you're addicted to certain type of carbs, then really make sure you've put away any of those foods.
The temptations.
If you're living in a shared house, with the family or with perhaps some of the students, there may be foods around that you wouldn't eat normally, and you don't want to be tempted by when you're really, really hungry. So you know what your trigger foods are, whether it's, peanut butter and jelly, whether it's bread, whether it's cakes, whether it's ice cream, chocolates.
A lot of people.
It doesn't matter what yours is.
Clear the decks.
It's out.
Yes.
So if you can't get it out of the house, try and put it at least in boxes. Try not to have it visible, because you know what happens. You see your trigger food, you're absolutely starving. There is such a temptation to just have a little bit, and a little bit becomes a whole lot.
Yes. Good. All right, so now we've prepped, we're in the right headspace, we're feeling good, we're positive, we have our support person, our accountability partner, and we're starting. So now we're in the fast. So essentially we've stopped eating, and we've now started the fast, whether it's a fat fast or a water fast. What are some of your tips for during the fast to make that fast as comfortable as possible?
And I think, the first few hours up to the first 12 hours, all depends on your starting point. So if you are a carb eater and you're used to eating regularly, and this is your first experience of fasting of any kind, then you may find this first few hours quite difficult.
Pretty tough, yep.
Because you've got a habit of eating, you are snacking frequently, you're very glucose dependent. So when you don't get carbs, you're going to have a blood sugar crash. So be aware, if you're a carb eater, you may find that first few hours tough. If you're already fat adapted, great news for you. Those people who are already in the ketogenic lifestyle, they're in ketosis most of the time, they're doing 16-8 already. Guys, this is going to be a walk in the park for you if you're doing a 24-hour water fast. Because your body is already used to burning its own fat for fuel. And it's just going to do that for a bit longer. So the fat adapted people, guys, the first few hours is pretty easy for you.
Think so?
Anybody who's not fat adapted, who's still eating carbs or has only recently transitioned,
It's going to be a struggle.
what's going to happen is you're going to burn through your supplies of glucose for the first 36 hours. So do expect this to be tough for the first 36 hours. So what can you do to help? Well, the first thing is get lots of rest. So usually people feel quite tired when they do their first fast. As you go on to do them, you'll get more and more energy. By the time you've done 12 one-day fasts in a year, you're probably bursting with energy. And that's because every cell in your body has been renewed. So you're feeling really, really good. Your cells are generating energy. Whereas when you start, your cells are all a bit, they're not in great condition, they're not in tip-top condition, they're not elite cells. They're all a bit tired and weary, and that's how you're going to feel. So
should you exercise during a fast?
I would say yes, get some gentle exercise.
Okay, good.
I wouldn't go and do something intense, so I wouldn't hit the gym and do really high intensity cardio or really heavy weights. Weights are not bad if you feel good. Sure, do a bit of weight training. But gentle exercise like walking, it's really good, and it's really good for a number of reasons. The first one is it makes you feel good. So it actually releases those happy hormones. So it's going to make you feel better. The second thing is it's going to burn off any glucose that you've got left in your muscles.
Which is what we want.
Which is what we want. So we can bring that time where we've got glucose in our body down a bit, because we're going to burn it faster. So going for a 1 hour gentle walk is just going to eat through some of those glucose stores and help you get into ketosis faster, help you starting to burn your own body fat. So go for a nice gentle walk. It's also good to get up and move around, because we don't want to be sedentary. That's not helping us generally. So movement's always good. But first time round, keep it gentle. The second, third, fourth fast that you do, you might find you can do your normal activities, but you've got to find out how your body reacts first.
Right, so during the fast then, what can we consume aside from, if it's water fast, you've got water, coffee, tea, fat fast, you've got fat. Is there anything else that we should be consuming to make sure our body is in the tip-top condition to continue fasting?
So I think the most important thing when you're fasting is to stay hydrated.
Yes.
And if you are choosing to have coffee while you're fasting, remember coffee is dehydrating. So make sure you do replenish with plenty of water. Still water is fine, bottled water is fine, sparkling water they're all good. Don't go for the carbonated sodas. Anything with artificial sweetener, they may have 0 calories, but they're not helpful for your body. So stick with water. But what I would do is during the course of your fast, I would add in some nice pink Himalayan salt or some sea salt into your water. So I'd be doing a couple of times a day, maybe 3 times a day, a nice glass of warm water. I'd dissolve perhaps 1/3 to 1/2 of a teaspoon into that warm water, and I'd drink that. And that will do a number of things. The salt actually helps your body adapt to the fast, and you don't feel quite so hungry.
Excellent.
It also will hydrate your body better than pure water, and it will help your body to flush anything through. So during that fast, especially if you're coming from the carbohydrate eating and you've got glucose in your system, the body's going to burn through the glucose, then it's going to realise it doesn't need water to hold on to that glucose. So once the glucose is gone, the kidneys will release the water as well.
Right.
So basically you need to rehydrate, and with the water is going to go sodium. So you need to add salt in to replenish yourself of that sodium that's being lost. And also potassium will go with the sodium. So again, to get your sodium-potassium balance right and to stop that fatigue, you want to have salt. So go for more salt than you usually would have on a fasting day.
And some people ask about apple cider vinegar during the fast. What's the role of that?
So apple cider vinegar is really helpful in general on the ketogenic lifestyle.
Yeah.
In fact, on any lifestyle, it's got a lot of benefits. But when you're fasting especially, so one of the things that ACV, or apple cider vinegar, is reported to do is help stabilise blood sugar and actually to help reduce blood sugar.
Okay.
So again, especially when you're coming from, having been a carb eater and you're trying to get rid of that glucose, and you're trying to get your body more sensitive, in terms of its insulin response, then apple cider vinegar could be a good thing to do. Now, you don't want to be drinking a whole bottle, but I'd be saying maybe a dessert spoon, or at most a tablespoon, in warm water a couple of times a day. So you might do your salt, your apple cider vinegar and some warm water 2 or 3 times a day, and that's just going to help your body again, and it's going to get you through that fast a bit quicker and a bit easier.
Excellent. So you've got some great tips there. We're in the middle of the fast, but we can see the finish line. It's over there. So now we're moving to the end of the fast. So some tips on breaking the fast?
Before we do, I think a really important tip on this one as well is when you're in the fast, expect to be hungry. It's a really good sign. People don't feel hungry a lot of the time. We eat so frequently, our bodies are just used to being filled with food, and the hunger hormones don't work anymore. And so getting sensitive to that feeling again, getting those hunger hormones working is a really good thing. So when you feel hungry, pat yourself on the back. You've actually done something really good, because again, you've got all those signalling pathways from the brain to the stomach working. Yes. So hunger is one of the things that is an amazing feeling that many of us have forgotten. So expect to feel hungry, embrace it, be happy that you're hungry. It means you're doing it right. And if you are getting hungry, have something around to distract you that's not food. So read a book that you've been meaning to read for ages. Go for the walk with your friend. Go get out into the sun and enjoy a bit of sun. Find things to do that will distract you from the feelings of hunger and therefore the temptation of eating some food and breaking the fast early.
All right, great tips. Now we're going to break the fast. The time has come. What are your tips on, first of all, how to break the fast? Mm-hmm. Should that be done in a dramatic way? Do we do a special fasting dance?
Little breakfast
little happy dance.
Sermon.
What should one eat when they break the fast? And what are some of the things we can do post-fast to keep the benefits of fasting, keep the longevity of the benefits?
So when we break the fast, we're about to refeed.
Yes.
So we've held off on the calories, we've held off on the food, we've got all those amazing benefits, you've got all those cells renewing themselves. So what do you want to do? You basically want to give your body the most nutritious food you possibly can. So this is the time to have the real nutrient-dense food, that beautiful whole food. But be careful. The biggest mistake people make is they get to the end of their 24-hour fast, they are ravenous, and I mean starving, and it's dinner time, because many people will fast from, say, 8 o'clock in the evening until 8 o'clock the next evening. So they've gone 24 hours, it's dinner time, and they are just, they're ready to eat the table.
So rather than a break fast, they have a break feast.
Oh, they have a feast.
Big pile of food. Break the fast with a feast.
That's it. So, people often end up eating far too many calories, which is going to do a few things. One, it's going to make you feel like shit. You're probably going to vomit half of it up. You're going to feel completely full and uncomfortable, and you're about to go to bed. So that's not a good place to be. It's also going to really offset the good work you've done in your fast, because in your fast, you've withheld the food, you've restricted the calories, and you've probably lost some weight. If you then gorge yourself and you eat twice as many calories, well, there's no benefit to the fast when it comes to the weight loss side. So go easy is my biggest recommendation.
Like a small meal, a small nutritious meal.
Have a small, think about your evening meal. You might have something like some bone broth. Bone broth is amazing to break your fast.
Absolutely.
You've given your digestion a rest of 24 hours. You're now going to have some bone broth. That's wonderful and healing for the gut. So it's going to really absorb well. The amino acids in it are going to be assimilated quickly. And that's beautiful to get into the body, into the cells as they're starting to renew. So bone broth is a great example. Or just have something that's perhaps starter size. Take a small part of your evening meal and just have that. Then wait an hour. Just let that digest, let your body adjust again to being given food. Wait an hour and then have a bit more, because sometimes you can feel a bit queasy when you break your fast.
Yes.
So go steady, have a small nutritious snack. Try to make that fat and protein based. You do want some protein, because if you only have fat, you're not breaking your fast. So try to have a balanced snack that's got all of the macros in there, and then make your evening meal nice and balanced. So the protein, the vegetables, and the healthy fats again.
So I presume because you've got into ketosis, if you fasted correctly, you want to then continue to be in ketosis and go back to a keto lifestyle, so not add carbs and break it. So for as long as you can, slip straight back into that keto lifestyle.
That's it.
So you're extending the benefits.
You've got yourself deep into ketosis at this point. You're probably at the therapeutic level, especially if you've come off the back of 16-8 intermittent fasting already. So go straight back into your 16-8. Don't skip a day. Reward yourself with some really nice ketogenic food. So, the beautiful avocados, the fats, the nuts, the grass-fed organic meat, the fatty cuts of meat. And just make sure that you keep your diet really clean from there on in, because you've broken the habit of any carbs that you've been eating. You've got rid of all the glucose in your system. So now's the time to really reap the rewards and make sure that you're in that, as you said, tip-top condition.
Excellent. So some great tips there around fasting. So thanks, Lynn, for your time. Join us again on The Peak's Life.
That's right. Come back for the next episode.